A nationwide strike that would have begun today, crippling the performing arts industry, appears to have been avoided for now. Over the weekend, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees reached a tentative deal with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers addressing core demands, including reasonable rest periods, meal breaks, a living wage for those on the bottom of the pay scale, and significant increases in compensation to be paid by new media companies. But the 60,000-some members of IATSE could reject the tentative 3-year agreement, saying the temporary contract doesn't do enough, with some members saying, quote, nothing has changed and that leadership, quote, let them down.
If members choose not to ratify, production on film and television sets nationwide could completely shut down. Joining us now to discuss is Tyler McIntosh, Political and Legislative Director of IATSE. Tyler, we understand that one deal is tentatively done and another is still in the works. Could you elaborate on this?
Sure. Good morning, and thank you for having me. So we've reached, as you mentioned, a landmark tentative agreement for our West Coast film and television production workers that work under what is known as the Basic Agreement, which has helped us to avert a nationwide strike that would have started today. However, we are still in negotiations for those film and television workers who fall under the Area Standards Agreement across the country in major production hubs such as New Mexico, New York, Illinois, Georgia, and Louisiana.
And so regionally speaking, how are your workers dispersed today, and how does that stack up relative to, say, a decade or 2 decades ago?
Certainly, there are major film and television production hubs across the country, as you just heard me mention geographically, whereas the film and television industry primarily having its roots in Hollywood. Today, especially with the rise of streaming productions and the explosion of content production, there has been growth in really every region of the United States. So not only are we having film and television produced in California and Hollywood and in New York, but also in places like Georgia, like Louisiana, like New Mexico, where there are studios and streamers investing heavily in film and television productions in states across the country.
I remember the writer's strike back in, when was it, 2008, somewhere around then.
Like that, yeah.
I remember its effect on the television programming schedule. What would be and I think cut short of a couple television seasons, or one season, but for many television shows. What kind of a impact would a labor shortage stoppage have now?
It would simply be massive and widespread, as I just mentioned, really across the country. If a strike had been realized, production would have had to cease really across in the vast majority of production across the country. You mentioned the writer's strike. What is unique about our membership is our below-the-line workers include, camera operators, grips, prop makers, set dressers, makeup artists, editors, all of these job categories that are critical behind the scenes to producing film and television. And frankly, you cannot produce film or television without IATSE workers. So it would have meant production going dark from coast to coast. And of course, that is a last resort. We are pleased to have temporarily averted this strike and are hopeful that we will resolve the Area Standards Agreement as well. But on the Basic Agreement, we fought for basic rights and a voice in our professions. And as you noted in the opening, we're able to achieve our core issues that we had on the table from the beginning that our members prioritized for this negotiation: reasonable rest and meal breaks during the workday, including a 54-hour weekend rest period and a minimum of 10-hour rest period between shifts, living wages for the lowest paid earners, improved wages and working conditions for streaming productions, adoption of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which are just critical to our members, and a 9% raise over 3 years of the contract. All of this with no concessions. So we're optimistic that we will have similar achievement in the area standards agreement, and that our members will be pleased with this great comprehensive new deal and see significant improvements for everyone working in the industry.
So John Deere workers, shot down their leadership's contract recently and went out on strike. You've seen some, as we mentioned, members of the union saying that this deal stinks and we should vote it down. I've heard other analysts say that they expect that some units will vote heavily against this, but then it might carry because others overwhelmingly approve it. What's your sense of what membership will do when this comes to a vote, and what are the main things that they're saying are missing from it?
Certainly. I think what's important to remember here is this agreement is over 50 pages, and no one has all the details yet. The agreement and the deal is still being worked into contract language, and the locals and members who are party to these two contracts will be informed by their leadership early this week about what the deal entails. Anyone offering opinions on the deal without all the facts is frankly doing a disservice to themselves and all members that are covered by the agreement. We're also seeing members that think this could be one of the best contracts that workers in this industry have ever had. And so, we just urge members to wait until they educate themselves fully to make any judgment on this tentative agreement. We have 60,000 members who are covered by these two agreements, and until we vote, surely shouldn't speculate on the future. To accept or reject an offer before anyone has really had a chance to read it just doesn't make sense. And social media posts really aren't a reflection of all the voters, but we are seeing kind of, a mixed bag, certainly, of members. And ultimately, we understand people's frustration at times in a first simple look. It's ultimately, this all started with the members of putting these issues and working conditions that they wanted to see improved on the table in the first place. They were the ones who voted overwhelmingly for strike authorization for our international president. And ultimately, they are going to be the ones who decide. Our union is a democratic organization, and our members will decide whether or not to ratify this deal. But certainly, we're urging everyone to look at the whole package, and we believe that when they do, they will see it is light years ahead of previous agreements, and everyone working under the new deal is going to see significant improvements, and we're very proud of our members' solidarity and sticking together and allowing our elected leaders to reach this agreement.
Thanks so much for sharing your perspective with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And if I may, just one last point I wanted to mention as well was, prior to the strike vote, we also had a congressional letter sent by Senator Alex Padilla and Congressman Adam Schiff, both of California, and signed by 120 members of the House and Senate, that was sent to the AMPTP, urging them to negotiate collaboratively with IATSE workers to reach a fair contract and address the basic human needs that will allow them to do their jobs safely and with dignity. And without this letter and our members' solidarity and the support we've had from actors and directors in the entertainment industry, as well as the labor movement at large, frankly, would not have allowed us to reach this moment and a fantastic new contract. So we are grateful for all of that support and for our member solidarity.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, it's good to see the pressure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tomorrow on Rising, we have another stacked show. The Iowa State representative, whose district is home to John Deere's headquarters, will join us to discuss the ongoing labor dispute.
Andrew Yang will also join us to discuss the Forward Party. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our new videos, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
See you then.